Let's get started.
So I think we all know that if Michael Olise was signed by Manchester United this summer, he is going to be playing as a winger from the right flank, but I'm going to be breaking down the specific tactical role that I think could turn Olise into a world-class player. But first I'm going to answer the question of whether United even need Olise with Amad Diallo already in the squad.
We need him.
So let's get straight into it. Do Manchester United even need Michael Olise, considering that they already have Amad Diallo? Well, even if we forget Olise specifically, I definitely think United need another option on the right flank. If they are playing with a system that requires a right winger, of course. A diamond system or a 5-3-2 would call this into question, but whether it's Ten Hag, De Zerbi or Kieran McKenna, I think given that Greenwood, Sancho, Pellistri and hopefully Anthony as well are all potentially being sold this summer, United at the very least need someone who can come in and compete with Amad for that right wing spot. However, the question is, would signing a marquee signing like Olise stunt Amad's progression? Well, I would say no, and it's because really and truly for a title challenging squad, or at the very least a top 3, top 4 squad, which is what United have to be next season, none of Garnacho, Højlund or Amad should be starters. Realistically, I think given their age, playing second choice alternative roles in the squad is what you'd usually expect from young players coming through at United. And we have seen that even though Garnacho and Højlund have shown glimpses of huge potential, because of how young and raw they are, they naturally have inconsistencies in their game. When Phil Foden came through at City, he wasn't a starting player straight away. First of all, that was because of how good City's squad was, but even strictly from a player development point of view, Garnacho, Højlund and Amad are probably better off starting maybe 1 out of every 2 or 3 games, and in the games they don't start, coming off the bench as impact players. And so for me, Amad Diallo is not at the stage in his development where you wouldn't sign a player who is on the cusp of being a top level player like Olise, and I would say that Amad is probably 1 or 2 seasons away from reaching Olise's level. But how exactly would Olise fit into United's system from a tactical point of view? Well, before I get into that, if you like me are excited for the upcoming Euros, check out Jersey FIFA. They've got all the Euro 2024 jerseys, alongside the new season jerseys when they are released, and of course club and international retro jerseys as well. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you'll get a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which I will leave linked in the description. So let's say that United are setting up in a variation of a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Olise from the right would be perfectly suited to operating in the same sort of role that Mahrez operated in for Pep at City, holding the width in the front 4 or front 5 in possession, taking up a starting position on the outside of the fullback. From here, Olise is the exact type of winger you want. Isolating the fullback in a 1v1 can be done by having the central midfielder on his side, holding a deeper and more central position, as well as having the right back behind him, likely Diallo, inverting in field, as this will drag the opposition players away from Olise's area, meaning that when United do switch play quickly, Olise can now isolate the fullback in a 1v1. He may need to refine it to make him more consistent in these types of situations, but I think his ability to come inside on the left or burst down the outside of the fullback, alongside his close ball control and turn of pace, means that he would certainly be an effective weapon when isolating the fullback on the flank. However, unlike players like Matoma or Doku, this isn't the main part of his game. Ideally you want runners ahead of Olise, firstly to drag players away and open up the space in front of him, but also to sustain the width in the system, which will allow him to drift infield into central positions. This would work particularly well against sides who are going to man-to-man press our central midfield in the middle third, as if you have a midfield 3 for example of Mainu, Mount and Fernandes, having Fernandes and Mount drop deeper to drag the central midfielders with them, but work to stretch the space between the opposition's midfield and defensive lines, wherefrom if Højlund is utilised as an advanced forward, holding a high position between the 2 centre-backs, that will act as a positional pin to stop one of the centre-backs pushing up into the space in front, meaning that if United can then find a way of allowing Olise to break away from the marking of his fullback, maybe through having Diallo advance down the right flank to stop the fullback vacating that space, and moving in field with Olise, now with Mount and Fernandes dragging the midfield high and Højlund positionally pinning the 2 centre-backs in the back line, Olise can flow into this space, wherefrom if he can open up a passing lane from one of United's deeper players in possession, a pass can be threaded into his feet, and this is where I think we can see Olise come into his own. And we saw this from his opening goal against Manchester United when he picked up the ball centrally, goal side of the United midfield line, which is exactly where you want him receiving possession. And he showcased not only his close ball control to absolutely float past Casemiro, who yet again showcased how much he has declined, but Olise also had the ball carrying ability and the pace to race forward to the edge of the box, where from his composure was top level, to not be rushed into a pass or shot, and even though he did hit the shot slightly into the ground, the placement was spot on, steered into the bottom corner past Onana.